Hello, everyone, and welcome. Yes, my name is Arafire, and welcome back to another episode of All Talk No Shock, where we are joined by a familiar face. Graeme, please say hello.
Hello, everybody. How are we all doing?
Graeme, of course, is from Prime Time Toyz, who you have seen on this channel before, a good friend of the channel. And today we want to talk about a bit of a broader issue, but a very relevant one. So you would have seen recent releases around fans toys combiners and some larger expenditures that we've got coming up that's going to incur a bit of shipping costs and costs in general, and why some costs can differ from retailer to retailer, country to country. So we're going to go into a bit of that today. So Graeme, we'll start off with fans toys. Seeing as of today we have finally seen completed images of Superion, and it looks like it's going to come along, but there has been talk around how this is going to be shipped, and it looks like it's going to come with Slingshot, Viper, or Jester, whichever one that is. And it's going to be, well, a couple of sites have it up for about 400 US dollars for figure and parts, but then some other sites don't have a price as of yet. So it's up in the air. So just quickly touch on why some do and ones and why some don't. Do you think there is a set price yet? Is this a couple of retailers, couple of distributors, I should say, putting up a price just to have a price up there?
I do think there's an aspect of that. I do think some retailers put a price up, and there is watching customers' behaviours is really interesting. Some customers will wait until the final price goes up till they buy. We have that with quite a few regular customers who wait until we finally get our stock in and we can confirm our price of fans toys to make their order, but they order every time. And then there's others who'll just put it up straight up, will put their order in straight away, knowing that, okay, the price will be what it'll be. So I do think there is aspects of retailers trying to get ahead of the curve to try and grasp as many orders, as much custom as they can by putting a price up. And it is an interesting bit. I think, that with figures so far out, there's so much variables that make it really hard to make a decision on price. We could sit and I could sit and tell you, I think, the combiner's going to come out at £300, just picking a figure, not committed to anything, saying it's £300. But between now and say that comes out June next year, just for argument's sake, we have 8 months. The price that finally comes in is not in pounds. It has to get converted first to dollars and then gets converted to pounds. What do we lose in exchange rate for that when we're purchasing things in? Your big aspect that you said there is the shipping. The shipping charges, who knows? Shipping costs have dramatically increased in years gone by. A recent big figure that got announced and pre-orders went up was the Llewellyn
Yeah, yeah.
Metroplex. Greg talks about the cost of the Llewellyn Prime getting shipped, and it was so cheap to get shipped from China. It was cheaper than you would even imagine, and yet
And
now
that
that
came
thing
as
is going to be
one
frightening.
bulk, didn't it? That was just
Yeah, one
one big shipping.
massive box.
Because I think with the Metroplex, we're talking about maybe 2 to 3 shippings, and there's
Hmm.
been talks of that
Yep.
similarly with Fans Toys Fortress Maximus, that could come. Well, the head's already part A. I think we're going to expect an upper body, lower body,
Yeah,
and
that's the
I
rumor
think
that we heard.
yeah, and that's going to be enough to put some people off, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because people
Hmm.
will think, like you've touched on there, it's it's another purchase, it's another form of shipping and import charges and everything else that can come with it, depending on who you go with and what country you go with.
Yep.
So I will just to reaffirm the point that Graham made there. Yeah, we are just plucking numbers out of the air. The fan stores pricing is still up in the air. We've only just had uh, images of the combined form today. We believe it's coming with Slingshot. There's only been scraps confirming that, maybe an email here and there, but we haven't even got product listings up on some websites confirming as such, and we certainly haven't got a release date. So I don't know, inflation could go through the roof in the next few months, and it changes things all over again. So I do think to the point that I posed to you to give my opinion on it, I do think some retailers have stuck a figure up that they are having a hunch that it's going to come in
Yeah.
more or less around that.
Yeah. And your big retailers, somebody like a Big Bad Toy Store, a TF Source, who I know have put prices up, their business is huge. They can allow to drop a little bit of margin on their items, their big ticket items, and go, well, actually, if it comes in a little under, that's okay, because the next one might come in a little over, and they'll make their money that way. The smaller retailers like ourselves, we can't take that risk. We have had figures come in, and we have put the price up. We've put the price up maybe too early, and we've ended up going the first batch going out and not making anything off them. The Star Toy Blitzwing, when it first came in, we made nothing off the first batch of pre-orders we did because we'd put it too low. And that's the challenge. You don't know what the shipping's going to be. And if I give you an example, the shipping price for 20 Diverge coming in against 20 Variator, there was a huge difference in the price and the shipping for them. And why should there be? They're pretty much exact same figure, exact same weight.
Yeah, massive.
But depending on when it gets booked in, depending how busy the shipping is, the shipping rates are frightening at points. And we don't know the shipping rate not until even it's shipping, till 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks after it's actually come in. So it's really hard to gauge what price are you putting something at that you're not going to lose money on or break even on. The nicest way, we're not doing it just for the fun of going, well, let's break even and just make everybody happy. Love to, but we need to make a bit of money as well.
So you don't know till after the horse is bolted, then, and I think that's a really an interesting point that I wasn't really aware of, the fact that gears and swerve, that they are practically the same figure, and yet you will get different shipping costs because of different times and different, and this really should be a lesson to everyone. I don't want to say if the price is too good to be too true, jump for it, but there's a sense of that because you don't know what the market's going to be. And you think of how we've been living through inflation, cost of living. I don't know, $400 is a lot of money if that is going to be the price. Maybe that's as good as it gets for all we know. So that's a really interesting point.
And as a challenge, and I know when we first started talking about this topic, a few weeks back, I had spent a bit of time because I felt as if actually would it be good to be able to put up a gauge of here's where we roughly think the price is going to be, not committing to one, but just saying, what's the recent one? The Sound Blaster, Fans Toys Sound Blaster. That's going to be, I estimate, I think that'll be between 160 and 180 quid, I think. But the challenge with it is when I started to look at the figures and go backwards and go, what would I have made figures out at? I was sometimes getting them under and sometimes getting them over, and it just became too much work to try and estimate a figure that I don't want to put a figure out and people are like, some people will see if you're rated 160, 180, they'll look and go, oh, it's going to be 160. And then be angry that it's not 160. There will be others who will look and go, right, okay, it's going to be a maximum 180, right, okay, I'm okay with that. But I felt there was less good coming out of that conversation there would be the negatives of it, and it's a challenge. It is a challenge, and I absolutely, with the aspect of buying the stuff myself, I know that pain. I know that pain of actually what's this going to cost? How much am I budgeting? Don't know.
Yeah, you don't have an idea, do you? It's something that you want, but you're going completely into the wilderness unless it's something that you said I'm committing to from a long way off. I can only come into one figure that I definitely said that I'm paying whatever that price is to get it. And it was my Takara Beast Wars Dinobot. And I've arguably done the same with Rhinox that's been shown, but damn, that's expensive. That's a lot.
Agree. I'm in the same boat with that one as well. I'm like, yeah, that feels like it's going to hurt a wee bit, but it's Rhinox and it feels like it needs to be done.
I've committed to it. And I think that's where you made a bit of a point there that I just want to kind of go back to. Putting up prices too low and getting caught with your trousers down, shall we say, it's really from a small retailer's point of view, or really any retailer's point of view, surely it's better to ask for more and offer them potential refunds or whatever than to come in too low and beg for forgiveness and go back cap in hand. It's got to be better to go for the high end. And I think that's maybe why you're seeing the $400 going up. It may be 400, maybe 360, maybe 370. Far better to issue a refund or exchange rate or whatever.
It's the way we've went with the don't put the price up. When the figures there's some figures we do get a kind of confirm what it's going to be, and if the shipping we think is going to be low, then we're comfortable to go. Right, actually, we'll go around that price, and there will be figures we put up. Fans Toys are the ones that are the challenge because, in the nicest way, Fans Toys are nice, big, bulky bots. The weight on them is significant, even on the mini bots. They're not, 20 mini bots in a box. I promise you, isn't just a light box.
No,
So
yeah.
there's a bit more apprehension on those from our point of view, of making sure we get it right and make sure we don't shoot ourselves in the foot by going too cheap, or actually in the opposite end going too expensive, and then the challenge of actually, who do we need to do refunds for and how's it work?
It's funny again, just because we've seen a comment in our group chat today around. Again, I will get off fan stories in a minute and move on to broader topics, but I just want it's all coming into my head at once. This Superion set is gonna cost. I've been working it out, maybe 940, depending how you got the first three figures, because the prices were a bit lower there. But this 400, if it is going to be that price, is the big bulk with the big combiner limbs, the skeletal frame that's doing the damage. And that's just your out purchase, whether that goes on shipping or whatever else. But then I was thinking around the very recent image that we saw of Scrapper for the Constructor concept that they've got on the go. And that's coming in at 200. And there's 6 of those, or 200 or just under. And I'm thinking, but they're talking about, and it is just rumor, that individual combiner components are going to be with the individual members. So does it even itself out? Is it back to that weight that you were saying?
That's a better way of doing it, because from a budgeting point of view, that's easier to kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to spend, late on the line, I don't think it'll be 200. I think it'll be 150 max, like, in my opinion. So say it is 150. You're talking, what's that, 900 quid? It's better to have it split up over the 150 at a time rather than going 150, 150, oh, and then you need to try and find 300. Like, in this day and age, budgeting's tough for that. And, it's also if you're buying Scrapper, you're buying all 6. You're not buying Scrapper to have Scrapper.
Yeah. You're not going to just get one and tap out there, are you?
So why not put them through? It goes to the opposite end of, I do think it's a challenge. How do you do it? Like, my gut says they should have had the combiner parts a separate box, because I know there are people who buy multiple copies. There are people who will buy Superion to have a Superion. They'll have them to have them as bots. They'll have the jets. To be fair, I think the flight stands look stunning. It is going to look gorgeous in the 3 modes. But do you need all the combiner bits and the cost of those combiner bits for all 3 of them? I think there's better ways they could have done it. We saw them with their universal stand. They have sold things separate to allow you to have that option
universal
for it.
Stand.
Well,
works on 4 figures.
Well, there's more than 4. There's more than 4. If you look at the recent Warthog box, Warthog fits on it as well. It came out universal. I think that was a kick in the teeth when they said universal stand and then says works with. Well, actually, just don't say it works with anything. Just wait and see. It's a topic that I'm going to do a bit of a competition on in Primetime Toyz to see what does it actually fit with, because I bet there's a lot more than the 5. I know the 4 in the box. Let's say Warthog, the box of it shows it, which was a nice kind of Easter egg almost in the back of it. But I bet there's other ones it works with. So I'll be curious to see what that works with. But they've shown that they can do that kind of style. Why not do similar with the combiner bits or the flight stands, whether it be for the aerial bots?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I've ribbed on Fan Stories for this Superion set, and I think they've really gone about it badly because they didn't know what they were doing. And I'm making this a Fan Stories video, which really wasn't the intention, but they didn't know what they were doing from the start of it. They've changed it. I mean, from the time it was start to finish, this is going to be 5 years. I think Silverbolt was 2019. We're looking 2024 when all the sets are going to be out. That's if there's no more delays. No. So you're looking at all of these changes and changes to plans, changes to shipping, and it doesn't help. Particularly as you say, some people just want to have, I don't know, Silverbolt, but if they wanted to have the flight stand as well, then they have to get Slingshot, and it doesn't help matters.
And it's not an enjoyable experience. It's not an enjoyable experience, but going through that. Whereas, I bought the TFC Hercules. I bought at a time, and that coming in at each time was exciting, and it came in. It wasn't over 5 years. It was, I don't know how long it was, but it wasn't as much as that. And same with the Feral Rex. Feral Rex was a joyous bit to get, because I felt as it was like back to when you were getting your monthly your monthly comic or your monthly magazine. That's what it felt like, a regular release that was going to get you to an end game, not a is this going to come out? Sam Formers, he is great for always messaging, asking about a certain Stunticon coming out. Is it ever going to come out? I don't think he's ever going to speak to me again once it actually comes out. He's got nothing to talk to us about. And I think that's the pain. That's challenging. That's challenging feeling.
Yeah, and I think it would have gone better. I see there's other companies that have gone by the wayside with this, because was it DX9 with the Minosaur that they threw out combiner parts in the trailer of Motormaster, because you bought the cab and you had to buy the trailer and it came with all the combine, and which might have been a good way to do it, have it as a separate purchase. Again, they weren't upfront with it, and you were so committed by that point. You had to buy all five thinking, well, how's this going to work then? But I think to a point, that could have worked, having a separate purchase to combine, because I've heard a lot of people say, such as myself, I've got the Zeta combiner, that I would keep that in combine mode and I could have the individual bots for my aerial bots. But I'm going to have to buy this combining frame with Slingshot because I can't get Slingshot on his own. I thought about that with Kang Toys as well, if I ever wanted to get their Razor Claw, but it comes with one of the wolf feet, and I've got one of this wolf feet just kicking around. But first world problems.
Ever since the pandemic, the prices of shipping has went crazy, and it wasn't just you were paying for shipping. You're paying for the priority of getting your stuff on the boat, so you're haggling almost to get stuff on. So it's not quite as bad as it was. It's getting better, and it certainly has eased up, even just in the last 12 months. But there's money being made in that.
So now we'll talk about, as we touched on, the shipping and the fact that majority of this stuff does come from China, and we'll just focus on China shipping at first. Whether you get stuff through retailers like a Show Z or others, you will get a choice to go with, as I understand it, sea freight or air freight, and there is a stark difference between each. So, Graeme, just really, if you can educate every one of us, what is the benefits and the cons with going from China and going with the different types of shipping costs, different types of shipping methods, I should say?
So you've got the first bit's going to be cost. If you're paying for air freight, you're going to get it quicker, but it's going to cost more. That's how we get our first batch. So you'll see our first batch of Fans Toys are a little bit more expensive, and that's for the people who want to get it as quick as possible. So you're going to pay more for air freight. A lot of the retailers in China will use, it'll go by sea, so it'll take longer, which means it costs less, which means it pays less for you. So it's cost is a big one. From a wholesale point of view, it can be a dramatic difference between the two. From an individual point of view, I don't think the prices are hugely different when you get something shipped air freight or whether you get it shipped by sea. But that is a huge aspect of it. There has been some massive changes in the way that shipping works in the last 3 years since pandemic. When the pandemic happened, everything shut down. Every aspect of getting shipping done was shut from overseas, very much from China for a long period of time. And it has taken them a long time to get back on track, but it's still more expensive. And if you think in this country, and you read anything about lorry drivers are getting paid a fortune these days because there's not enough people to ship the goods that people want. So that means it costs more to actually ship it just in the UK. Forget anything else. Just in the UK, it costs more now to arrange that shipping than it did 3 years ago. You add that to then the aspect of getting it shipped abroad from China, from wherever it's coming from, it's going to cost you more. You're sometimes paying to, or I don't think the individual goes, I'm going to pay to barter to get it on. China's the land of barter and everything's bartering. There will be people who barter to get, I want my container on that ship rather than that one over there. I'll pay you extra. But that cost just gets then shipped onto whoever's paying for the shipping. So there is an aspect that, there's waiting times, there's hold times. these can be circumvented by paying extra money, but that then just adds on to the shipping costs. So it's certainly a lot more challenging to ship, and it's certainly more expensive to ship from China than it was before pandemic. Will it ever go back down again? I don't know.
And you mentioned a very good point there around the weight of orders, which we've touched on. I just want to go back to very quickly. So bulk orders, which I'm guessing obviously yourselves and other companies will do, that can be just as much a problem as anything else for time and space and shipping and how much I guess you're paying in upfront weight and distribution and storage of. So are you looking at, say, at least on the face of it, mini bot figures? You think, oh, less, fantastic, less is more. We can get more of them on there because they won't weigh as much. And then you're looking at say a fans hobby overlord, something considerably bigger, and you think, oh, that's gonna sting a bit when we bulk order those in from a distributor's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. It does certainly. The higher the volume, both in size and weight, it has a massive impact on the costs. And we're only getting small amounts over, so they'll fit us in wherever they can fit us in. Places like your Big Bad Toy Store, companies like that are shipping in mass quantities. They're getting big figures, and they will get like I assume anyway, they'll get like a kind of monthly or weekly shipment, and it will all just go into that shipment. So it'll be a container and it'll be a set price and it'll go. Whereas when you're an individual like us and you're trying to get one bit, you're then trying to get the shipping for that one item, and our wholesaler will fit us in where they can, but sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's quicker. It's actually quite intimidating at points when, we're seeing things landing and sometimes we're going, where's ours? We've not even heard ours is arriving. And then there has been times, just before TFN, our wholesaler did an absolute outstanding job getting his Commander Stack reissues and both colours of ruler in like far quicker. Normally it takes about 2 weeks from them telling us they're getting it to get it in, and they had it in our hands within a week. Did it cost a little bit more in shipping? Yes, but for us that was great to have that at TFN. But you're paying that a little bit more, and that's the challenge.
Money talks, isn't it? That's the way of getting stuff done. So very quickly going on then, away from China and the types of shipping you can get from there. What about, say, America as a next bigger distributor or point of origin? From an independence point of view, or should I say from a customer's point of view, if you're thinking, I don't want to wait all the times for it to come over by sea, I don't want to wait 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however long it will take. America's a bit closer and a bit quicker, but it has its own pitfalls, such as import tax and a conversion rate as well. So from just quickly on an individual's point of view,
mm-hmm.
From your perspective that you've managed to work to, and does it pay to hedge your bets and say a few items from China, a few items from America? Is there some incentive to switch other than, say, time?
I think there's some aspects that, like, some items are exclusive to certain areas. There's some stuff you can only get from China. There's some stuff you can only get from America. The example we were talking beforehand, one of the things I still get from Big Bad Toy Store, I've used Big Bad Toy Store for years for loads. I used to get all my big Transformers from them because it always worked out a little bit cheaper, not massively, but a little bit cheaper. But the one thing I still get from them is NECA Gargoyles, because they don't have a UK distributor. Believe me, I've tried to see if we can get them, but they don't have a distribution license. They have a license in America, and that's it. So you can only get from America from them. And where Big Bad are good, what they do really well is they give you the option to choose how you want it shipped to you. You can do your pilot, which is what I would suggest the end uses Big Bad does, but you can pick what service, or I think you still can. I've not changed it for so long, but you still have to pick your service of who do you want to deliver it and how do you want it delivered, whether it be air or sea, and your costs will change, and they can change quite big based on that. And then there'll be stuff that you can only get from China that you're stickered with. Most of the stuff, let's be honest, a lot of the stuff anyway is coming from China to America, then to come to you. So it's, are you going to pay to get it shipped to America and then get it shipped to you? Because you're paying for that. And I don't grudge paying a little bit more when I'm buying something from Big Bad, because I understand that you're adding another layer in of the shipment to them, their costs to run, their employment costs, all those kind of bits. Because we have this, Greg and I, Paddy, we all have the same bit of actually, you're not going to get it at the same price as we're going to get it, because you need to make a little bit of money off it. You make a bit of money for your income. That's the way of the world. The same as, you'll get it. The weird one, the one that makes me always laugh is, why are you able to get your Hasbro stuff cheaper than Hasbro Pulse? I kind of know the answer, and I know how it works, but backstage. But I just, from a customer point of view, that baffles me. The cheapest place I should be able to get it from is that. The other example I always give is Xbox games. Why is it more expensive to buy a digital sometimes than a physical? When
Yeah,
there's extra cost layers on there. That digital should be the cheapest version, cheapest way to get it at any point. Same
absolutely.
as Hasbro Pulse should be the cheapest way to get it. Now, I don't want it to be, because that would kill your kapows, your in-demands, and that's not the way it should be. There should be a level playing field. But when you think about it, they're making more profit. If they do the same price as Kapow, they're making more profit off it. Same as Microsoft do the same price as Game, they're making more money off it.
It seems like a bit of an unnecessary pitfall, doesn't it? When you lay it out like that, and obviously a lot of it comes down to taxation. I'm sure the fun topic of words, but I think that's probably one thing that's going to not put people off. But I suppose it does from, say, shipping it from America. And as we spoke about before recording, is if you get an item from America, you're paying for the item, then you're paying for the shipping, and then you're likely to pay for the import charges. As you quite rightly said, you're possibly paying the same price as you would do if you just did a one-off purchase, but it's the fact it's being laid out to you, or in some instances coming at you much later when you've received the item to then pay import charges considerably later from something like FedEx or whoever. It does sting and it does put you off, but you possibly have been paying what you would be paying if you went straight from China. But it's just because you're seeing it broken down a bit differently. Not always the case, but something to bear in mind.
Yeah, as I said, I give you an example of, like, I'm a geek, so I kept spreadsheets of everything I ordered from Big Bad for ages, and the vast majority of the time it worked out cheaper to get from Big Bad. From the aspect of, yeah, okay, you're having to pay a high shipping charge. You're paying one shipping charge for, I was buying 3 months worth of toys. One shipping charge for between the 3 months worth of toys. Always worked out okay. And actually, if you get charged your 20% VAT, you've generally saved 20% on the price, because we all know it's £100 equals $100. Whereas that's actually not true. The conversion rate probably about 20%. So on the vast majority part just now, probably balances out. The shipping costs is the bit where shipping costs have went up, and it's maybe not quite as economical to do it that way. But as I say, sometimes I still get the gargoyles, but there's other bits that Big Bad will be the last to sell out in places. So I often use that as my backup of, if I can't get it from somewhere in the UK, I know I've got a backup of getting it for Big Bad. I might pay a wee bit more, but that's almost your late tax,
But
and I'd
you'll
rather
get it.
pay it to make sure I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that people will have that kind of, if you're starting to look at other distributors in other countries, yeah, you're almost committed by that point. I'll pay a bit more now because I'm struggling to find it from not my usual water holes. Oh, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. But very quickly, I just want to touch on one final bit as we wrap up here. If talking around some of those bigger ones that we mentioned, the Lewin Metroplex and Fans Toys Fortress Maximus, do you think then, as these are likely to be shipped in multiples, don't know how many, that a consumer or even a distributor would be paying one upfront delivery charge or even import charge, or is it going to be broken down onto separate items? Is it going to be the body's available now for Fortress Maximus, buy it, and we'll divide up the shipping when we get there?
For the Metroplex, I'll let you in. Paddy and Greg, the crazy fools that they are going to get one each, which is great for me. I get to play with whoever's will get it. Let me near it. I couldn't justify it. but it's got it currently set as they are shipping separately but shipping at the same time. I don't know if that will happen. You know, engineering wise, surely they're getting them ready at the same time, so it makes sense. You're building it together, unless you're doing Fancy Toys Superior. You're building it as one. But so do you then ship it separately? I do think Fans Toys, when they eventually do Fortress Maximus, I think they will do one part and then 6 months later they'll do the other part, because the price of it will be that much that it's the smartest way to do it, for allow their customers to budget for it. Not that their current release schedule and firing out releases this year has really lent into the fact that they want to help their customers out. But that's just my gut, that I think we'll get it in 2 parts when we eventually get that. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's pure speculation, isn't it? I think it's best laid plans as well. You don't know how distribution is going to be from when they're shipping it out. Something like Metroplex, for example, it sounds great if it's going to be individually packaged but then sent out at once, but that depends how many orders they've got and then how much space they've got, and it could become a nightmare. Bits get missed, you end up with 4 fists turning up and you can't finish them off. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it goes, but it's an awkward problem, isn't it? It's a combiner. It's like buying a combiner, isn't it? You can't assemble it until you've got all the pieces, and if it comes in independent or individual shipments, well, you're not going to finish it, are you? And you just
half a body, you're just going to have Metroplex's legs just sitting there.
Just do a handstand.
That's what it's going to be. The combiners are different because you can have them in their individual modes. That's acceptable. But can you imagine getting and even getting Cerebros is okay, because these Cerebros, but if they split and give you, here's half a Metroplex, half a Metroplex,
especially if you get legs corner first, you just get 2 legs in the office.
The legs isn't so bad; it can actually stand. Then it can hold its own position. But when it's in its body, like top half of its body, I don't know. It'll be an interesting one to see how they do it. Whether they just ship it in 2 separate boxes, ship it at the same time. From a completing the figure, that's a more enjoyable experience, having the 2 at the same time. But it's a lot of money at one go, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And we'll have to see how it goes. These are big purchases, big one-time events, you'd like to say, and therefore big purchases really demand big shipping.
Remember they teased a Triptychon at the end of their video for last year for it, so we could see all 4 City Bots getting some form of 4-foot tall toy. Jeez.
Man, who's got the room for that? And maybe this conversation of shipping larger bots will become the norm once they started testing Sir Walter. Metroplex is gonna give us a lot of insight into how they ship these large bots. Okay, that's our quick topic for today. Thank you very much for coming along, Graeme. It's great to have you on the channel. Obviously, it goes without saying, please do head on over to primetimetoyz.co.uk to look at Transformers and some other wonderful goodies on their website. Thanks for coming along, Graeme. Thanks for watching at home, and I will see you on the next one.